The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users, on demand on iTunes and on YouTube, and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not. And also there is a Twitter news feed there with a lot of news updates, very stimulating information that I look for, and some of which is submitted by you guys that I post there to help you with your discussions right here on Paltalk as you talk either here on News Talk or online or throughout the Paltalk diaspora, including today. Oh, by the way, thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio. We're syndicated across this country to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. There's the rest of it. I have been posting a lot of information over the weekend and today about the swine flu, which is the topic of our discussion today. Joining us to help sort us through all this static and contradictory information we're getting from the news media is our good friend, Dr. Davis Liu, L-I-U, the author of the book, Stay Healthy, Live Longer, Spend Wisely. Dr. Liu is a practicing board-certified family physician in Northern California. His comments have appeared in Fortune, Smart Money, Remedy, Real and Simple, and the New York Times, and he has penned opinion pieces that have appeared in the San Francisco Chronicle and the Sacramento Bee. He received his medical degree from the University of Connecticut School of Medicine. He also graduated summa cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa from the Wharton School of Business. Dr. Liu, welcome back to News Talk Online on Paltalk.com.
Thanks, Gary. Glad to be back.
It's a pleasure having you with us, and people are very concerned and confused, as I indicated earlier, about this whole issue about the swine flu. Could you start by just giving us a primer about what the swine flu is?
Sure. It's a virus, respiratory virus that occurs in pigs, hence the name swine flu. And this type is influenza type A. And so usually it just goes from pig to pig. It's a virus that just stays among pigs. And like other viruses, like the avian virus we had in 2004 in Asia, they usually generally stay in the same animal. So occasionally you hear cases where direct humans contact with pigs, people who work with that, for example, may get that, but usually doesn't transmit very easily or effectively into other species. The reason people are concerned about this one is it appears that the people exposed weren't near any animals, and sometimes these viruses can mutate, and they can jump species. So in other words, a virus that usually was contained within pigs only, and maybe those occasional people who happen to be in close contact with those animals, now it seems like the virus has changed where now it spreads very easily to humans, and more importantly, because we don't have any sort of immunity, the fear is that it can spread very quickly among people.
Well, speaking of that immunity issue, Dr. Liu, we know that over 100 people, about 120, close to 130 people have died thus far in Mexico. There have been some clusters here in the United States, in Texas, Kansas, and New York, most notably, and there have been some examples of it as far away from Mexico City, where it apparently began, as in Israel. But all the deaths seem to be in Mexico and not elsewhere. Is this just a symptom of the numbers game being played here, or is there less of a concern about one's mortality when one gets the swine flu outside of Mexico than there is inside of Mexico?
People can speculate. I don't think we have a good answer on that. The numbers in the United States, as you alluded to, are very low so far. Even in California, we have a case where I actually work here in Sacramento. And even in New York, I understand a few cases reported over the weekend. We actually don't have any sense right now what the issues are. Is it some sort of some illnesses, for example, aside from the flu, let's talk about that, affect certain races differently or ethnic background. So is it a case of that? We don't know. Is it socioeconomic status? We don't know. Is it general health status? Again, we don't know. It's really hard to speculate. It could just be just pure numbers. 1,000 people in Mexico, roughly, maybe 100 cases, so maybe 10% of those were deaths. So we'll see. I mean, the numbers in the United States are so low. This is all happening so fast. By tomorrow, the information we have will be already outdating the information we have today.
So the best thing that as I understand it, and I've been recommending this to people on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, is that they take the same kind of precautions as you would take any time of the year, but particularly in the flu season, and that is wash your hands often. Don't go into a public place, a confined area with a lot of people if you're suffering flu-like or cold-type symptoms, so that you don't spread it to other people. And if you sneeze, of course, cover your nose and your mouth so that your germs aren't flying all around. Is there any other kind of advice that we can give people so early on into this event?
Well, I think the best thing right now is that we believe it's transmitted by the respiratory system, so it's very much the precaution you take for preventing a cold. Everything you've said, wash your hands meticulously. Try to avoid people in like tight crowds right now. Keep your hands away from your face, your nose, and your eyes. When you touch a doorknob, for example, and someone maybe coughed and then touched the doorknob, and it's on your hands, the key is washing your hands, but actually keeping your hands away from your face. Because when we do get viruses, funny enough, it actually has to get into our nasal mucosa or oral mucosa, i.e. the nose, the mouth, the eyes. And so if you keep your hands away from it, actually it's less likely to become a problem.
The United States declared yesterday a public health emergency, and I'm told that it sounds much worse than it really is. It's just a bureaucratic step that must be taken in order to free up resources, but it's enough, plus all the coverage that we've been getting on this, and I guess there's a double-edged sword to this coverage, because we want to notify and inform as many people as possible, as we are doing here on News Talk Online on Paltalk.com. But on the other hand, we don't want to throw people into a panic, and there are actually people who are saying, well, I'm not going to go to work, I'm not going to travel on subways, I'm not going to ride in planes, I'm going to stay home until this threat is overcome. Are they overreacting?
Well, I think right now it probably is premature to do some of those things. Certainly, I think if you're planning a trip to Mexico, as you probably know, the U.S. government right now has probably suggested people don't go to that part of the world for non-essential travel. I know locally here in California, Stanford's actually recommended to their faculty and students as of yesterday the same things, not to travel. So I think that's being somewhat prudent. But I think going to work and things like that, I think it's unnecessary to consider not going in at this time, especially if you don't know anyone who's been traveling to that part of the world. So I